Welcome back to the C Morning Show, everyone. And it's time for one of our favorite segments, which is Book Talk. So before we get going, today I'm with Shanaz.
Yes.
You're always into any
Books.
particular book at any given time. What are you into right now?
Okay, I am currently reading this one. This is called A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. So everyone's been talking about this book because it is said that this book is life-changing. And so far I've read around 250 pages, but it's around 700 pages, so I still have a lot more to go. But they said this book is very touching. It's a story about four friends, and one of which is crippled, and he got molested when he was a kid. So it's very touching in a way because the particular character he has to struggle with his mental health, mental condition, and it's hard to read. That's why I've been reading it for a month, and
It's a bit of a heavier read.
It's heavy to read, and it's very, I don't know, it got me very emotional. That's why I need to just.
Well, you're one of a few people I know that actually reads fictional books, so it's
love
nice.
it.
You switch between fictional and
Yes,
non-fiction.
I always read one fiction book and one non-fiction book,
so that
I
you
don't.
stagger them
Yes.
at the same time.
Yes, in the morning I read non-fiction, and at night I read non-fiction.
Helps you go to sleep.
Fiction, sorry. Yeah.
Nice, okay.
How about you?
Well, my book hasn't arrived. I just finished one. My sister's coming from Canada. She's bringing me a book called The Out of Sync Child by Out of Sync Child.
Okay.
It's by Carol Kranowitz. It's actually about sensory processing disorder. So for the past couple of years, I've been trying to learn as much as I can about ADHD or even autism spectrum. But what I did not know about it, and I've recently found out, is sensory processing disorder. It's basically, it can be a symptom of ADHD or even autism. However, it can be even standalone. But what's weird is that nobody really knows much about this disorder at all, even doctors. So it's basically you're overstimulated or understimulated in your senses. Like, for example, have you ever felt an itch and you don't know, and when you scratch, that's not where the itch is? Or you have kids sometimes that are oversensitive to tags on their shirts.
That's my kid.
Or like, well, if it sounds too loud, they kind of cover up. Well, it turns out that there could be a reason. It could be that of their 5 senses, some of their senses are overstimulated. For example, their hearing, or light's too bright for them, or anything like that. And I noticed some of these happening with my son. So the backstory behind why I found out about sensory processing disorder. And it turns out that we don't know. It can last all the way till you're an adult. In fact, my wife has some of these symptoms as well. She's a bit sensitive to light and smells, perfume, like strong perfume.
Yeah, that's me.
Well, right? So this could be part of something larger, or it could not be. But the point is, we need to know more about this. And I think I'm always interested in reading not just self-help books for me, but things that I could help me understand my children a little bit better. So I actually had to order this one, and it's on the way to me. I hope my sister brings it. Hope it's able to shed some light as to what's happening with our kids.
Of course, but you don't read fiction, anything.
I do not read fiction. I'm a strictly non-fiction person. I just don't have time. My fiction stuff is all on TV and on the big screen.
Not a dreamer.
So before we dive into the book recommendations of our guests, we actually should introduce him first. He's not a stranger to the program. We've spoken to him before, but he's back here talking about his latest book, Kita dan Mereka. So without any further ado, please welcome the author of the book, Agustinus Wibowo. Good morning, Mas Agus.
Hello.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, it's been like 2 years.
It's been a couple of years.
Yeah, we were talking behind the mask.
It's glad to be able to see your face, I was going to say.
Okay,
So this is it. Let's have a look.
we're going to talk about Kita dan Mereka.
Us and them.
Us and them. Can you tell a little bit about the background of this book?
Yeah, this book is actually a mix of my physical journey, but it's mostly about my contemplation and spiritual journey to understand about identity, the root of our identities and the root of our conflicts.
Okay.
And because I think
a lot of it is sometimes intertwined, right?
Yeah. Because maybe it's because of my background, raised as a Chinese Indonesian. So I was raised during the Suharto old regime, where there was so much of persecution and discrimination, and this kind of experience made me wonder what is what was my true identity, whether I was Chinese or Indonesian. Because outside the house, I was supposed to get the education, the nationalism education. So surely I'm Indonesian, but inside the house, the family, my family told me like, you are Chinese, you have to preserve the ancestors' identities. But during the Suharto regime, it was not possible to have both. You have
and
to
you couldn't be
choose.
both at the time.
Yeah, you
Right.
couldn't be both. So it's kind of a difficult question for me. The question, who am I? Who am I? And it was since I was a kid. So this question already raised in me, and it was getting stronger and stronger. So until I got the experience to go to China to study. And at the beginning, I thought that I would be welcomed as a compatriot, but
they saw you as an outsider.
yeah, as a
Wow.
foreigner, I have to pay the tuition fee as a foreign student, and we have to stay in the foreign student dormitories. And I realized like there are so many differences of our ideas. When I was kid, for example, my mom told me, you should not spit. We Chinese never spit, only Indonesians spit.
Right.
But when I came to China at that
Everyone
time,
was spitting.
everyone was
Everyone's
spitting
spitting
like,
everywhere.
and I was questioning myself like, were we coming from the same ancestors?
Right.
But then I realized like identity is something. It's also an illusion. So it also depends on what you think about yourself, and it depends
That's
on
true.
On your perspective.
of your perspective exactly. So that kind of experience pushed me to travel around the world to understand and to seek. Actually, at that time, I was seeking my homeland, where do I really belong?
You were looking for a sense of belonging.
Yeah, sense of belonging. And this kind of traveling, also I traveled to many countries, and especially conflict zones like Afghanistan.
Really?
I've been to Central Asian countries as well to see the regions that were created by artificial borders, and to see how the identities were created with these artificial borders. And those kind of experience made me contemplate what is the real meaning of identity.
Okay, well, let's actually touch on that a little bit more,
Yeah.
because you raise an interesting question. I myself was raised as from a Chinese family, as an Indonesian as well, but differently, I was raised in a totally different country that was neither Chinese nor Indonesian, as you know.
Yeah.
So now that you visited other conflict areas especially, what did you find that was similar to those that helped you identify what the problem was in the beginning here for us to be able to identify one way or another here in Indonesia?
Okay, so let me tell you one story. When I arrived in Kashmir in India, you know, the Kashmir is contested between India and Pakistan. And in Srinagar, the people are Muslim, and then they are under Indian authority. And many people I met, they more connected to Pakistan. So when there was cricket competition, cricket match, they were supporting Pakistan. So when I was watching this in front of my eyes, I remember my childhood when I saw badminton matches between Indonesia and China, and it was like confusion, like whether to support China or Indonesia. So, but then it made me understand like, I and these Kashmiri people might be different, but there are many similarities. As minorities, we have the question of identity. Where do we belong? Whom we support? And then when the identity is repressed, there is a tendency to have resistance, to be against the identity that repressed them. So I realized, the minority issue is not only about the issue of whether you have different identities, but it's also about the question of repression. Once there is a repression, there is always resistance.
That's true.
So,
That's a good point.
yeah.
That's very good.
Wow. Oh, wow.
It was easy for me, by the way.
Yeah.
I just cheered for Team Canada. I didn't have to go one way or the other.
Now, I also want to know, how many countries have you been when you're writing this book?
Okay, I've been to many. I don't really count countries,
You don't count
because
countries.
for me it's not really important when I visit countries. For me, the most important is to understand. So sometimes I stay very long, like in Afghanistan, I stayed 3 years.
Wow.
And I keep revisiting Central Asian countries like Uzbekistan, almost like 7 times revisiting. So for me, yeah,
the journey.
The depth is more important than the number.
I see.
Yeah.
And also, you talked about in this book,
Yeah.
not only you talk about identity
Yeah.
and the countries that you were born in,
Yeah.
but you also talk about religion and how it shapes you.
Yeah.
Maybe you can talk more about that.
Yeah, I think it's also interesting that I was raised in many religious traditions. So as a Chinese, we have the Chinese religion, traditional religion, but it was also persecuted under
Yeah,
Suharto. So
at
we
that-
had
at that
that
moment.
we had those traditions in secret. In the school, I went to Christian school, so I learned about Christianity. In the high school, I went to a public school, so I also learned about Islam. So this kind of mix of religions made me realize that many people think that their own religion is the correct one, and the
Yeah.
others are wrong.
Of course.
And this is also the root of conflicts in many countries,
Of
including in
course.
Indonesia and in Afghanistan. People can kill each other because of different sects they believe in. They all Muslims, but just in different sects, different way of praying, different
Yeah.
rituals, they can hit each other. So I wanted to know what is the root of religion, and I traveled to Papua New Guinea to see the really, I don't like to use the word like traditional primitive religion where there is, I would prefer to use it's kind of ancestral
Yeah.
ancestral worship religions, or and it helped me to understand the root of religion, how religion developed from people seeking for spirits, understanding the powers that they cannot explain, and then they also rely with shamans, and how these religions developed into polytheism, and then come to monotheism, and there are also religions without God, like non-theistic religions as well, and this kind of understanding made us see the truth from different perspective. Every religion has their own truth,
That's
but it's just a piece of truth. We have to see it from different religions, different myths, and different traditions to see the truth from its wholeness. I
Right.
think this is
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. And I just I encountered this I want to say quotes because I don't know. I sometimes look for spiritual meanings and stuff, and they said that religion is actually a tool for you to become spiritual. If it makes you emotional, then it doesn't work for you.
Exactly.
It's not doing its work.
Yeah.
So you have to choose something that made you connect spiritually, right?
Yeah, it is very important to know that religions is the way to spiritualism, but spiritualism not always come from religion.
Yeah.
So you can also
can-
see
yeah.
some people can be religious, but they are not spiritual because they are only busy with the rituals, the traditions, the rules, and they forget the real meaning of religion and spiritualism is to make you a better person, to make you to connect with yourself, and to make you to be able to love people around you.
That's true.
And when you are full with your identity, you hold the religion identity too strong, you forget to see from other people's perspective.
Yeah.
And those created the hatred and conflicts between religions.
You argue with
that.
people.
Yeah, you argue with people because your ego makes you want, oh, my religion is the truest, your religion is wrong. And this is the root of the conflict.
Whereas if you zoom out, religion,
Yeah.
any kind of religion, should actually teach you generally the same teaching
Yeah.
in just different ways.
Yeah.
Real quick, because you did take an incredibly long journey to create this book.
Yeah.
You did have write previous books before, but I would say that your research into this book pretty much took your whole life, right? I would say. So Indonesia has changed a lot since. There's much more religious tolerance.
Yeah.
There's much
Yeah.
more
Yes.
racial tolerance,
Yeah.
regional tolerance.
Yes.
How would you say Indonesia is? What state are we in now in regards to our differences and our acceptances for our different identities?
Yeah, I think we have, as Indonesians, I'm very proud that we have progressed so much. Like one thing that always touched my heart now that we can celebrate Chinese New Year freely in Indonesia. It was like
Thanks to Gus Dur.
yeah, And in Bogor, for example, every year there is the Cap Gome festival where everybody, or all Indonesians from different ethnics, different religions celebrate together. Yes, we have progressed a lot, but still we cannot deny we still have problems. There are also the identity, the religious identity can be manipulated in the politics, and
seen it recently.
we have seen that. And then I think it's also very important for us as Indonesians to understand the identities, our identities, all aspects of it, the nations, ethnicities, races, languages, religions, ideologies, from a general perspective, to understand that the truth behind it is there are many of the things stories that we create in our mind. And sometimes we are too much attached with these stories and we forget about other people. So by understanding identities and understanding other people's identities, we can create more tolerance, more understanding to others, and more respect to others. And I think this is the what we need to create a multicultural and harmonious community.
Very well said. Kita dan mereka, us and them. That will be
dan
our
mereka.
recommendation for this week's book talk.
Now, real quick, I want to know about your.
I asked about this already.
What is this, Mas Agus? Where did it came from?
This is a Tibetan dress. I just got it from Nepal. And I think Nepal is also an interesting country where ethnicities and religions can blend in together.
I see. It looks warm.
Yeah, very
That's why I'm
warm
asking.
in this studio.
But while we have our recommendation for you, we also have one from Mas Agus. Did you bring a
Mas Agus?
recommendation for us?
Yeah, my recommendation is *Sapiens*. It's a very famous book.
Yeah.
Any of you have read?
She's
no,
familiar with it, I believe.
I haven't read it, but my friends are recommending this
There we go.
to me.
Yeah, this book inspired me actually for writing Us and Them, because *Sapiens* encapsulated the history of human beings, Homo sapiens, for 200,000 of histories of Homo sapiens in one book. Wow. So I think the author is a historian, Harari. He can make a conclusion of our long history as human beings in such a book, and then we can see our history from a big perspective. And when you see the history in big perspective, you understand that there are many things that we think so important. It's actually just a small thing, a speck in our long history.
It's very ironic that that book that shows that we were all actually created out of the same. We're all humans. We're all Homo sapiens. But we can be so different now over time, right?
Yeah. But this is the root that we have to remember. Despite of our differences is actually very small compared to our similarities.
Right.
No matter your skin color, no matter where you're from, we have 99.9% of the similarities in our DNA. And why we only focus on this 0.something%?
Because we are Homo sapiens, we're humans. That's what we do.
That is our race, our human race.
That's right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mas Agus.
Thank you, Mas Agus.
Kita dan Mereka, available now for you to pick up, have yourself a read. It's a big one, so I think you'll like it.
Yeah, I think I will like it. 600 pages?
Yes.
Yay. All right, this is my weekend here. All right, now let's take a break. After the break, we have more updates just for you, so stay with us on the C Morning Show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.